Good evening and welcome to the public hearing on behalf of the Alabama Department of Environmental Management. My name is Sean Sibley. I am designated the hearing officer for these proceedings. The role of the hearing officer is limited to ensuring an orderly hearing so that an accurate record of the hearing may be developed for the department's evaluation. I do not make any decisions regarding these proposed permitting actions. On behalf of the department, we appreciate your participation in tonight's hearing. Following the proposed permit action, the following proposed permit action is for Alabama Power Company's Greene County Electric Generating Plant Ash Pond, located near 801 Steam Plant Road, Portland, Alabama. The proposed initial issuance of the coal combustion residuals, or CCR, permit number 32-03, close to the plant Greene County Ash Pond. The purpose of the hearing is to provide the public with an opportunity to present oral testimony on the proposed permit actions. In addition to oral testimony, the department will also consider all written comments submitted before the close of the comment period. The department has requested your comments, and we appreciate you taking the time to make them known to us. On September 16th, notice of the date, time, place, and purpose of the hearing was posted on the department's website and published in the Greene County Democrat. In addition, the department sent notice of this hearing by email to individuals and organizations who had previously registered and previously requested advance notice of permit proceedings. A copy of the notice and email distribution list will be entered into the record of these proceedings. Copies of the public notice, permit application, preliminary determination, draft permit have been made available for inspection by the public at the offices of the department at 1400 Coliseum Boulevard in Montgomery, as well as the department's website. This hearing is open to the public, and anyone wishing to present oral testimony or submit a written statement may do so. Lengthy statements or those containing considerable technical or other complex data should be submitted in writing. Summaries of these statements may be presented orally. All testimony and written comments should be as factual as possible and should address the subject of this hearing. The hearing is an opportunity for members of the public to offer comments to help ensure that all relevant factors are considered before the final permit decision is made. Please be advised that the department is limited in the factors it can consider in making the permit decisions and must base the determination on whether the permit applicant has satisfied those requirements of the applicable environmental statutes and regulations granted to aid them by the legislature. Persons giving testimony may be questioned by the hearing officer or other department staff to clarify points and to develop a better understanding of what's being presented. This proceeding tonight is not an open forum, as in a question and answer session. This hearing is an opportunity for you to submit comments that you wish the department to consider in final review of permit applications. However, you may pose a comment in the form of a question, which may be compiled and addressed by the department in its complete response to the comments. In addition to oral testimony, written comments may be submitted on the proposed permit actions. You do not have to make an oral statement tonight to have your written comments considered by the department. Written statements may be submitted to the hearing officer tonight or delivered to the department in Montgomery as directed in the public notice for this hearing. All written statements previously submitted and those received by the department before the end of the public comment period will be included in the hearing record. It's important to note that written comments submitted through postal and electronic mail are given the same consideration as those that are presented in person at this hearing. All written and oral testimony will be included in the hearing record. After giving full consideration to the hearing record, the department will make its final decision on the proposed permit actions and develop responses to comments for the proposed permits The hearing record, final permit determinations, and responses to comments will be posted to the department's e-file system on the website. This hearing is being captured by a court reporter to develop a transcript of this hearing for review by the department. In addition, the entire proceeding is being recorded on video to be posted on the department's YouTube channel to make it accessible to the public. Now let's move on to the purpose of the hearing, which is to receive public comments. The order of appearance of persons giving testimony will be as follows. First, representatives of the department's land division, then a representative of the permit applicant, Alabama Power Company, then any elected officials or their representatives who have pre-registered to speak. All remaining members of the public will be heard in the order in which they registered during the pre-registration, offered online or by phone, and then those registered on site at the hearing. I now recognize Jared Kelly to present a statement on behalf of the department's land division.
Good evening. My name is Jared Kelly, and on behalf of the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, we thank you for participating in the permitting process for the Greene County Electric Generating Plant, Permit 32-03. Alabama Power Company has submitted to the Alabama Department of Environmental Management an application for the initial issuance of coal combustion residuals CCR permit to close the Plant Greene County ash pond at the Greene County Electric Generating Plant. The Plant Greene County ash pond is a CCR surface impoundment located in sections 21 and 28, Township 19 North, Range 3 East in Greene County, Alabama, consisting of approximately 559.41 acres, with a disposal area that consists of approximately 477.24 acres. The proposed permit will require the permittee to manage CCR in accordance with conditions of the proposed permit, Avenue Code 335-13-15, standards for disposal of coal combustion residuals in landfills and surface impoundments, and the approved permit application. Groundwater monitoring and corrective action requirements in the proposed permit establish a groundwater monitoring system of wells that provides an accurate representation of the groundwater quality underlying the unit in the groundwater monitoring plan to establish appropriate sampling and analysis of the system to detect the presence of CCR constituents. For units where CCR constituents exceed acceptable levels, the proposed permit establishes corrective action requirements to remediate contamination caused by the unit. Closure criteria in the proposed permit establish requirements for all units to close in accordance with specified standards and timeframes. Post-closure criteria in the proposed permit require each unit to be maintained for a period of time after closure, including maintaining groundwater monitoring and corrective action to ensure the long-term safety of units that are closed. The permittee must comply with all conditions of the proposed permit, except for the extent of the duration such non-compliance is authorized by the variance granted by the agency. The first variance request to exclude boron is an Appendix 4 assessment monitoring petition. The second variance requests groundwater protection standards of 6 micrograms per liter for cobalt, 15 micrograms per liter for lead, 40 micrograms per liter for lithium, and 100 micrograms per liter for molybdenum. The third variance requests the third grade of the cover system be less than 5% and greater than 25%. The fourth variance being requested is for 335-13-15-.0336, requiring a 100-foot buffer from the perimeter of the facility boundary. Based on our review of the initial permit application, the department has made a preliminary determination that the proposed facility will be in compliance with the applicable state and federal solid waste disposal requirements and thus protective of public health and the environment. The proposed permit includes the following conditions. Upon renewal, the permit will be valid for a 10-year period. The permittee will conduct groundwater monitoring semi-annually. The permittee will implement and maintain a corrective action program. The permittee will maintain the integrity of the final cover system throughout the life of the permit and post-closure period. The permittee would at all times properly maintain the facility and all systems in accordance with the application and the permit. The The permittee would obtain the approval of ADEM for any change or modification to the facility or system which might otherwise result in noncompliance with the permit or ADEM's administrative code. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to provide an opportunity to receive public comment regarding the application and proposed permit. The department welcomes your input to this process and will consider all technical comments prior to making a final decision concerning the issuance of the permit and will provide a written response to each commenter and to those requesting specific notice of our decision. Thank you again for participating in this hearing.
We will now proceed to the receipt of public comments. Is there a representative of the permit applicant who would like to make any public comments? No response. Are there any elected officials that would like to make a comment? If there are, please step up to the podium.
Can I pull this down while I talk? Thank you.
Yes, sir. If you would state your name and who you represent.
I'm Woody Collins, representing the city of Demopolis. I'm the mayor-elect. I'm not actually sworn in for 10 days, but I'm currently on the Industrial Development Board, so I'm kind of familiar with all this. What are we looking for? Anything in particular?
We just want your input on the proposed permit and any input of what the department should consider.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm probably as unique as anybody you're gonna get tonight. I lived from 1975 to 1986 within a mile of the steam plant. Had an artesian well at my home. Since about 2014, I've actually got a little camp house, a piece of property across the river from the steam plant. During all that time, I've had well water. I've never had one problem with the well water. During my years in Demopolis, I've been involved in the city council. I've been on the industrial development board. I've made many, many tours through the plant over there. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, even I was pleasantly surprised a couple of years ago, last time I rode around those ash ponds. We'd read a lot of bad things about them, but they were beautiful. There were ducks on them, there were fish in them. I didn't get to see the alligator. I know they got a couple of them over there, but I know they're depicted as dirty, nasty, and filthy, and it's just not the case. I've been, all the years that I've had wells within a mile or two of the plant, never had any problems, and I hear about this leaching into the river and leaching into the soil, but I've just never experienced it. If somebody has, it's none of my friends that are around the areas that I work. But from what I've seen all these years, Alabama Power has been a wonderful corporate partner to both our community and to the local county governments. And the little I've seen of the plant and the way they're handling it, I don't have any problem at all with it. I'm 100% in favor of it. I know we've got to close these ponds down because of fly ash, but I also had kin folks over close to Uniontown when they were bringing all that ash from Tennessee in there, and that was an absolute nightmare. But the method that they're using here just looks like it's appropriate to me. And from what I see, it's not going to have any. You got to remember, coal came out of the ground in the first place. But the environmental impact, I just think, is minimal, in my opinion. I'm certainly not a scientist or a biologist. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go with it. Do y'all need anything else?
Thanks, sir. Unless you have anything else.
That's about my story.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all very much.
Next, call on Mr. Seth Hammett. First of all, let me ask: are there any other elected officials? There are. Okay. Okay. If you could approach the podium and tell us who you are and who you represent.
you tonight? My name's Jason Wyndham, and I'm here on behalf of the Marengo County Commission. I guess you want my 50-cent thoughts on the cap of the ash pond. I won't portray to be an engineer. I cook chicken wings and run a dry cleaners for a living, so to say I know anything about that, I don't. But I do have a very strong relationship with a lot of people that work at Greene County Steam Plant. Mike Willingham that runs that and is a member of the Rotary Club with me and has been an outstanding citizen in our community. I also have a very strong relationship with Diane Brooker, who is with Alabama Power, and has spent a tremendous amount of time with her and with the Rotary Club working on Renew Our Rivers, which is a project where we go through and clean trash up out of the rivers on an annual basis. I can't think of a group of people, not just Diane and Mike, but Greene County Steam Plant, who's been more of a leader in our community as far as environmental things to do and try to clean up our area. They've also been an outstanding economic industrial partner. I think you probably got some of that from Mr. Collins, the mayor-elect. I don't know where Marengo County, even though Greene County hosts Greene County Steam Plant, I would be fearful. And there was a lot of people who were very worried 3 or 4 years ago when they were shutting a lot of the coal-fire burns industries down with Alabama Power. It was a huge concern for our area because we thought we were going to lose a lot of people and a lot of jobs. So I think they've been a great partner, not only industrially but also environmentally. And from what little knowledge I have, I came to the previous meeting that they had here, walked through, and got a very good feel. I feel like the engineers that work there have done a good job of vetting, capping that ash pond. And I personally don't have any concerns about it at this time, and I would be very favorable in anything they do. I just feel like they've been good stewards of our community and our environment. So,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Appreciate it. We will now proceed to the receipt of comments from members of the public. As indicated in the public notice for this hearing, oral testimony for each registered speaker is limited to 7 minutes. If anyone's prepared a statement and cannot be presented in 7-minute time frame, please use your time for oral testimony to summarize your comments and submit your full statement to the department in writing for placement into the record. And I now call on Mr. Seth Hammett. Hello, Mr. Hammett.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and I'm pleased to be here this evening. Thanks for hearing me. My name is Seth Hammett, and I'm chairman of the Energy Institute of Alabama. The Energy Institute of Alabama represents the energy sector here in our state. The electrical energy sector is the nucleus of our association. We have 6 different entities that either generate, transmit, or distribute electricity, and all of them are members of the Institute. The Tennessee Valley Authority generates and transmits, but do not distribute electricity. Electricity in the Tennessee Valley area is distributed by either a group called Electric Cities, that is municipalities that have their own electrical system, or by electric cooperatives. And so Alabama Power Company does all 3 of those things. They generate, transmit, and distribute, but the rest of us, I work for Power South Energy. Power South Energy is a small version of the Tennessee Valley Authority, and that we generate and transmit to electric cities and to electric cooperatives in 39 states, 39 counties here in this state. The Alabama Rural Electric Association represents the 22 distribution cooperatives in Alabama, and the Association of Electric Cities represents the 36 electrical providers that are owned, where the electric system is owned by municipalities. Then we have finally the Alabama Municipal Electric Authority is a group of 9 cities that have gone together to purchase electricity at wholesale. So this is key to our business. Alabama Power Company is one of our members, and I'm here tonight to urge you to favorably consider the permit as is being considered at this time. And I want to make the following points. Here at Plant Greene County, material will be excavated and moved further away from waterways, which creates buffers of up to 400 yards or 4 football fields. The facility size will be reduced by approximately 268 acres, or by more than half. Alabama Power Company is applying advanced engineering technologies to construct a 2.5-mile subsurface wall around the closed pond to provide additional structural integrity and water quality protection. The wall will extend 30 feet below ground around the entire closed facility and into a natural chalk layer to effectively seal the material in place. And the final point I would make is those of us that work in this industry also live here. Our families live here, our children, our grandchildren. If we're going to follow the science, we're certainly not going to do anything that would endanger our own families, particularly our children and grandchildren. So again, I urge you to favorably consider this application as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Now call on Mr. Chris Arnold. Good evening, Mr. Arnold.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can. Mr. Arnold, who do you represent?
Alabama Coal Cooperative. I'm the president of Alabama Coal Cooperative. The Alabama Coal Cooperative was formed 30 years ago to provide the small coal operators with an opportunity to pool their reserves and compete with larger and out-of-state coal companies for long-term business. This has allowed our members to be proactive rather than simply reacting to market conditions. Our membership produces over 1.5 million tons a year. We employ 500 direct and 1,500 indirect jobs in Alabama. Since the co-op was formed, we have delivered over 45 million tons of coal to Alabama Power to generate affordable and reliable energy for our state. Alabama Power employed the experience of multiple firms with deep expertise in civil engineering projects that concluded that sealing the coal ash sites in place is a safe and effective option. The EPA has approved the method of sealing the coal ash in place as being just as effective and protective of the environment as removing the coal ash and transporting it elsewhere, as both options must meet the same groundwater performance standards. More than 60% of all coal ash sites in the southeast will be sealed in place because that is the best option for those sites, rather than excavating and move to a landfill. At the Plant Greene County site, the material will be excavated and moved farther away from the waterways, which creates a buffer of up to 400 yards from the river. The facility size will be reduced in half. 2.5-mile subsurface wall will be constructed around the closed pond to provide additional structural integrity, which will effectively seal the material in place. I've had the opportunity since I've been with the co-op to work with Alabama Power, not only as a supplier, but at 4 of their plants, Plant Berry, Plant Greene County, Plant Gorgas, and Plant Gadsden, on different projects. And during that time, one thing that I've realized is the importance that they emphasize on safety, protecting the community, and protecting the environment. In conclusion, Alabama Power will use the latest tools and technology to safely close the ash ponds, monitor the water quality for decades to come, and also continue to provide Alabama with reliable energy for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you.
Call on Mr. Blake Hardwick. Sorry, Ms. Hardwick.
I have to put my stuff down. Is it okay to remove my mask?
Yes, ma'am. If you could state your name and who you represent, if you represent someone other than yourself.
Sure. My name is Blake Hardwick. I am in capacity tonight serving the Coosa Alabama River Improvement Association, as well as I serve as secretary and treasurer of the Coalition of Alabama Waterway Associations. That association is made up of our 5 river systems: the Coosa Alabama, the Black Warrior, Tom Bigby, the Ten Tom Waterway, the Tennessee Riverway, and then the Tri-River Waterway, which is your ACF, Apalachicola, Chattahoochee, and Flint River system. I come to you tonight in support of Alabama Power's proposal to seal in place of their coal ash ponds. Our member organizations strongly support Alabama Power. Alabama Power has always been a partner to our waterway associations. I've been environmentally friendly with our waterways. Just in this area alone, I know that they do a trash and pickup on the waterway system, and we couldn't be more supportive than what we are. One thing I wanted to speak about is what I gleaned from the public hearings that Alabama Power had earlier this summer. They did mention that material will be excavated and moved further away from the waterways, which will create a buffer of up to 400 yards, which is equivalent to the size of 4 football fields. The facility size will be reduced by approximately 268 acres, or more than half of what it was their original footprint. And they're applying advanced engineering technologies to construct a 2.5-mile subsurface wall around the closed pond to provide additional structural integrity and water quality protection. The wall will extend 30 feet below ground around the entire closed facility and tie into a natural chalk layer to effectively seal the material in place. I want to also remind you that federal rules that were supported by both Obama and Trump administrations provide for this way of safely closing the coal ash storage sites. The EPA has approved the method of sealing the coal ash in place as being just as protective of the environment as removing the coal ash and transporting it elsewhere. And it is our opinion that we would rather it be sealed in place than transported through communities that could take years going through our communities. Sealing these sites, we believe, avoid potential safety issues. And for these reasons, we support ADM moving forward and approving the CCR permitting process and allowing Alabama Power to proceed with the seal-in-place closure method. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Call on Keith Johnson.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Mr. Johnson.
How you doing? Do I need to?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, there you go.
Good evening. How are you guys tonight?
Mr. Johnson, who do you represent other than yourself?
I am with the Southern Environmental Law Center. I'm the director of the Alabama office of the Southern Environmental Law Center. Thank you again for, you hear me?
Pull the mic a little closer.
Thank you again for having this meeting tonight. And I will say we're still in the process of review of the CCR permit application itself, and these are not complete comments today, but we will be submitting more complete comments by the comment deadline. First, I just want to remind you guys, this is not a referendum on Alabama Power and who they are as a company. This is about the pollution that's created by the CCR ponds. And it's worth keeping in mind that this problem was created by the power company itself when it dug pits beside the rivers and wet sluiced coal ash combustion residuals to these pits. And we now know that groundwater contamination, surface water contamination is happening at every one of these sites. ADEM knows this as well. In other southern states where we've seen, and there's been similar pollution problems, they are excavating and removing sites such as Greene County. So if you look at Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, every single coal ash pond in those states is being excavated and removed, either by direction of the environmental agency itself, such as ADEM, or by the state legislature. In Tennessee, the Gallatin and Allen sites are being excavated and removed, and Alabama Power's sister company, Georgia Power, is excavating and removing its coastal sites, which have a lot of characteristics like the Greene County site. So why are they excavating and removing the sites? Well, they're doing that because they know that that's the only way to get pollution out of the ground and surface water from these sites when you have such a primitive waste containment system. As the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality said, and I said this last time in my comments, but it's worth repeating, this is just on April the 1st, 2019. North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality rigorously reviewed the proposals, and the science points us clearly to excavation as the only way to protect public health and the environment. In fact, Southeastern utilities are excavating and removing approximately 255 million tons from unlined pits in every state except Alabama. We estimate that 70% of all the unlined impoundments in the Southeast covered by the federal CCR rules are being excavated. None in Alabama. So when the utility says that this is impossible, that they don't have the technology, that there's too many trucks on the road, that's just not borne out to be true. I mean, this is happening in our sister states. So I want to talk a little bit more specifically about Greene County in general. And as ADEM knows, Greene County is in a coastal plain. But it's also, the site itself is built on top of a swamp. And it's built on top of former remnant creeks and riverbeds. It's surrounded on multiple sides by the Black Warrior River. It's in a floodplain full of previous channels and former oxbows. This clearly indicates that the river channel migrates and the CC waste in the pond are subject to that river movement and erosion over time. I think ADEM should ask itself as it's reviewing this permit and the permit application, would you ever permit a permanent waste facility in an area such as Greene County? And I think we all know the answer to that, such as where the current Greene County pond is. The answer to that is no. Alabama Power's own data right now shows that there's arsenic, boron, calcium, chloride, cobalt, lithium, TDS, and pH contamination in the groundwater wells. Basically, the permit as written now allows permanent pollution in place. You know, I think there's several deficiencies in the current permit as drafted and the permit application materials. For example, we don't know the true extent of the groundwater contamination. It flows radially from the site, and the maximum extent of this has not even been determined. So you can't permit something where you're not even sure how far the contamination goes. The permit application is missing modeling that shows the impact of the groundwater contamination on water quality in surrounding areas. There should be more modeling to determine how long it may take to achieve the desired water quality. Right now they're saying monitored natural attenuation. Well, that's essentially doing nothing. This site, unlike others, does call for the CCR containment berm, which is a low permeability barrier wall structure key to the chalk bedrock below. However, even at this site, because of the site characteristics, there's still going to be groundwater and surface water that move in and out of that. And so even if you assume that wall is going to keep the contamination contained, you're still going to have water moving in and out of that system. There has been, from nothing that we've seen thus far in the permit application, there's been no indication that there's been sampling of wells, pond streams, or any other water bodies located off-site. That should happen before this permit is issued. Importantly, the bottom of the disposed ash right now is sitting in groundwater and will continue to sit in groundwater under the closure plan that Alabama Power has currently put in place. A 30-year closure period for this type of facility is not adequate. I mean, we know that this is a dynamic system. A lot of water moves through this system. What happens after the 30-year closure period? Does the utility walk away? Are the residents responsible for this? The permit needs to identify who's going to be responsible indefinitely for this site when it's left here. I guess in short, this draft permit does not satisfy the federal CCR rules and state rules as currently written. ADEM should go back and require Alabama Power to provide information that truly shows the extent of contamination and how this closure plan will solve the contamination long term beyond that 30-year period. We want to see more evidence of excavation and removal versus the current closure plan and capping it in place. And this is not a permanent solution for this site. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Johnson. Call on Miss Phyllis Belcher. Good evening, Ms. Belcher.
Good evening. How are you?
If I can get you to grab that mic and put it up close to you.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Phyllis, do you represent anyone besides yourself? Or?
I represent the Greene County Industrial Development Authority located here in Utah, Alabama. On behalf of the Greene County Industrial Development Authority, I am here to support Alabama Power Company and the Greene County Steam Plant. We appreciate the company being accessible and outlining their environmental plan to our entire community and keeping us involved in the process. Several months ago, they were actually here on this facility to explain what they were doing, how they were doing it, and how they were being responsible citizens. We have always had a good working relationship with them in terms of economic development, in terms of community development, and we're proud of that history. We know and we believe that we can trust them to do what is in the best interest of the environment and the community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Call on Ms. Joellen Martin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Joellen Martin, the Executive Director. Okay.
You hold it closer. There you go.
Is it close enough?
Yes.
Okay. Joellen Martin, the Executive Director for the Marengo County Economic Development Authority. And I'm very proud, actually, to be here and show my support for Alabama Power. I've been a partner, so to speak, with them for 20 years on and off in economic development. I have read about, I'm not going to pretend I understand this whole project by any means, but I have read about it, and what I did read, I was blown away by the steps y'all are taking in treating, removing all the water and buffering up, and all the different steps that you were taking, the stormwater systems, and that you're going to monitor it for 30 years. I mean, the whole thing, you couldn't possibly do any more due diligence than that. I mean, you've gone over and above, in my opinion, or Alabama Power has, rather. So I fully support what they are doing, and it's certainly going to not hamper any economic development efforts, not in Utah, not in Greene County, not in Marengo County, nor the surrounding counties. In fact, it's probably going to help us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Call on Mr. John Jay. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. John Jay.
Hello, can you hear me without me holding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If you could, yeah, just raise it up. And,
Okay. My name is Sharon J., and this is my husband, John J.
Get closer to you.
Oh, and we have a house at 816 Jack Branch Road on the Black Warrior River, just right a couple bends around from the.
Just hold that mic just a little bit closer.
We have the camp house right around a couple of bends south of the plant there. Anyway, we're concerned about the need to remove and relocate all of the coal ash. We'd like it relocated to another area, not into the river. And we would like, we're very concerned about leaking into the river at various points, there by the canal, all the way around, because we know it floods frequently. It has flooded every year, for probably the last 20 years or so. And we know that's getting out in the water somewhere. We're concerned about the monitoring when it's flooding, especially. Another thing, we're concerned about leaching into the water that is for recreational purposes, enjoyment. This affects people from Hale County, Greene County, Marengo County very directly. And many times we have people visiting from, like Georgia and Mississippi also enjoying the water. We're concerned about the effect of the health and well-being of the citizens from all over that area. And we're concerned about the water leaking into the good water of the aquifers underneath. We know that Utah has had some earthquakes, which we know shifts everything. And when it does, we know that water's going to be going down somewhere. It's going to have to shift around. We're very concerned about that. Another thing, if we are going to have to keep that then we feel like Alabama Power should go in and clean up the area and at least put in, take the stuff out, and you can do something with it. Now, this is just my thought. And do something with it until you can go in and put in appropriate liner there, and then, possibly seal it off. But if you do, then again, you've got to be able to monitor when the river shifts and the land moves around because of flooding. Then how are you going to monitor and keep that from leaking out and affecting that at that time? And that's all I've got to say.
I'm John Jay, and I've been on the river since 1960. I swim 5 to 7 days a week there during the summertime because we're just right there on the Warrior River in Jack Branch. I have the largest overflowing well at Lock 5. It was drilled in 1966, and I'm concerned about it. I think it's on the Utah sand. I cased it all the way to the bottom. We use it for our drinking water and bathing and that type of thing. And I'm just concerned about the water environment. I'm in charge of the sewer in Greensboro, Alabama. Been there for 39 years. We pump into the Black Warrior River, and ADM monitors us twice a month with 24/7 composite samples. Done a toxicity test last Tuesday, and I'm just concerned about the water. It concerns me, and I'm informed that cobalt could be involved with leakage in coal ash. I have cobalt in my body because of a defective striker hip that they wanted me to take out, which I hadn't done because I don't want to be in a wheelchair or something. But I am concerned about the safety of the water and the environment, and appreciate anything that y'all can do that makes it safe for us. Thank you so much.
This is a river that has changed many, many times over the years due to the flooding. We've had children, grandchildren, our friends have their children, their grandchildren. Now we've got a great-grandchild that is going to be playing in this water. And we would really appreciate if you consider doing something and not dumping this and contaminating our water, because it's a beautiful place. We're very proud of it. And we see on a daily basis for about 8 or 9 months out of the year how much everybody else does too. And please help keep us safe.
Uniontown is accepting coal leach in their sewer plant down there, and we were offered a lot of money in Greensboro to take the coal ash leach and what have you. I told them, no, thank the Lord that I did, because everybody that did has had problems with their testing and what have you. But anything you can do, we would appreciate. Thank y'all for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Call on Mr. Nelson Brook. Good evening, Mr. Brook.
Good evening. My name is Nelson Brook with Black Warrior River Keeper, and I'm here to speak about our concerns with leaving the coal ash here within this large bend of the river at Plant Greene County. Plant Greene County was constructed in the 1960s amidst a large bend on the lower Black Warrior River. And as a coal-burning power plant, it generated coal for many decades. It generated coal ash for many decades that was deposited in an unlined pit within the bend of the river. Prior to the power plant and coal ash pond being constructed in this bend of the river, this whole bend was a vast complex of wetlands and streams. Namely, Big Slough is a stream complex that was completely wiped out by the construction of the plant and the coal ash pond. The coal ash pond is nearly 500 acres in size. And if you look at a topographic map of what used to be there versus today, you can see that where Big Slough was, there's now an unlined coal ash pit. Big Slough used to flow into Backbone Creek, which is a major tributary in this part of the river down here that is frequented by many locals and people from afar every year for fishing and duck hunting and other outdoor activities. We're very concerned about the impact that this plant has had and continues to have on water quality, the surrounding environment, wildlife, and those who enjoy this part of the river, and those who live and recreate and fish and swim downstream. There are over 10 million tons of coal ash stored in this unlined leaking coal ash pond, which is contaminating groundwater with arsenic, cobalt, and lithium. In places, arsenic levels have been found over 75 times the acceptable limit as deemed by EPA. Not removing the coal ash, not excavating it, but rather capping it in place as Alabama Power plans to do, risks a continuance of the connection to groundwater, streams, wetlands, and surface water, ultimately making its way into the river that's existed for a long time. This is a huge opportunity for Alabama Power to do what is right. It's a huge opportunity for ADEM to ensure what should be done is done, and that is excavation of all of this toxic waste from a wetland and stream complex in a bend of the river to an upland, dry line landfill with proper leachate collection, storage, handling, and treatment that is away from rivers, water resources, and vulnerable communities. We can recycle this ash, we can properly dispose of it. This is the wrong plan. This is the wrong place to be considering the wrong plan because, unfortunately, whatever is decided through this proceeding is going to stick for the next 10 years. We don't want to wait and see that arsenic and other contaminants in coal ash are continuing to contaminate this area in 10 years. We already know that that's the case. We think that now is the time to do the more progressive and aggressive thing, although it will cost more. Ultimately, in the long run, it'll cost a lot less for the economy, people, and the environment. So, again, this is a crossroads, and we feel very strongly that the brakes should be put on this plan. As we speak, Alabama Power is dewatering this pond and failing to properly treat the water. There have been major issues with toxicity, permit non-compliance through the dewatering and treatment phase of this project. There's ongoing discharges into the river. We have found seeps weeping out of this ash pond into multiple places along this part of the river around the ash pond. This area is in the lower Black Warrior River floodplain. It's a wetland complex, so it's vulnerable to flooding. And as we've seen in other places, when these ash pond dikes get supersaturated, there's a grave risk of catastrophic failure. The ash pond dike along the barge canal is already in bad shape and has had to be shored up multiple times. The dike is considered a significant hazard. Were it to breach, it would flood the overarching surrounding area with massive amounts of toxic coal ash. So for these reasons, we feel like it's very clear that what is being considered here is improper for the river and for all who enjoy it down here in this area. And we'd ask that the right thing be done and we go back to the drawing board and reconsider the plan as drawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Call on Ms. Shamika Gray. Good evening, Ms. Gray.
Good evening, how are you?
Thank you.
Good. My name is Shamika Gray. Again, I am a concerned citizen from out of Forkland, Alabama. I recently just heard of the situation that was going on with the coal waste. And my concern is the contamination of our water system. Myself, I have underlying health conditions along with my elderly mother and aunts. So we are very concerned about the disposal of this ash, and we want to make sure that our waterway is not contaminated. I'm speaking on behalf of my elderly mother, my children, and other elderly citizens, in our area with underlying health conditions. So please, I'm asking that you do the right thing to get everything disposed of so that we can have a safe water and so that we can preserve our lives and our health. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Since there are no further registered speakers, please be advised, unless otherwise notified, the public comment period will end at 5 o'clock on Thursday, October 29th, 2020. All comments must be received at the offices of the Department of Environmental Management in Montgomery by that time. After consideration of all oral and written comments, the department will make its determinations regarding the proposed permit action and prepare responses to all relevant comments received. Again, thank you for your participation this evening, and this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.